Ever wonder what a single day can really tell us about the state of our world? Well, today we're going to find out. We're taking a snapshot, feeling our planet's pulse by looking at all the news from just one 24-hour period, February 7th, 2026.
It's a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it reveals a world that is incredibly complex, full of contradictions, and moving at a breathtaking speed. Here's just a little taste of what that one day held.
In China, you've got a major diplomatic breakthrough.
Over in Italy, a huge international event is facing serious turmoil.
And in the US, a public health crisis that's been years in the making is coming to a head. Seriously, from global politics to the very fabric of our societies, this single day had it all. So, let's dive right in.
All right, let's start at the very top. We're looking at the big strategic moves nations were making on the global stage. Think of it like a giant chess game.
Now, what's so fascinating here is how this one slide perfectly captures the tension of the entire day. On February 7th, the world saw these moments of de-escalation happening right alongside moments of rising friction. Let's break that down a bit.
So on the thaw side of things, we saw two huge developments. First, China overturned the death sentence for a Canadian who'd been detained for over a decade. That's a massive signal in the relationship between Beijing and Ottawa. At the same time, in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Syria started signing these major investment deals. These aren't just symbolic gestures. These are tangible signs of warming relations with huge economic and human stakes.
But at the exact same time, things were getting colder elsewhere. The U.S. accused China of conducting secret nuclear tests, a really serious charge, especially as old arms control agreements are kind of falling apart. And over in India, a new trade deal with the United States was met with fierce opposition, with critics literally calling it a surrender. So you get the picture, right? While some doors were creaking open, others were being slammed shut.
But, those high-level diplomatic moves have very real consequences on the ground. So now we're going to shift from geopolitics to ground zero, to look at the absolutely devastating human cost of conflict.
31. At first glance, it's just a number on a screen, isn't it?
But this number, it represents 31 lives. 31 people lost in Pakistan, targeted in a horrific suicide bombing at a mosque, which was later claimed by the Khorasan Islamic State.
And then there's this number, 24. This one represents 24 people killed in Sudan. They were families, including 8 children, who were just fleeing violence, only to be hit by a drone strike. This is the brutal, heartbreaking reality behind the headlines.
And the impact of conflict just ripples out, far beyond the immediate casualties. On this very day in Ukraine, Russian strikes on power stations led to emergency blackouts all across the country. In Gaza, airstrikes were leveling homes. War isn't just a battlefield. It's the loss of light, of heat, and of shelter for millions of people.
Which brings us to our next theme. What happens when the very systems designed to keep order start to fracture from the inside? We're talking about power, justice, and, well, chaos.
On this one single day, systems of power and justice were being tested everywhere. In Haiti, a really fragile transfer of power was underway. In France, a scandal just kept on toppling political careers. In Russia, a university suddenly became a scene of terrible violence. But there was also a glimmer of something else. In Pakistan, authorities actually made arrests in connection with that mosque bombing. So each event in its own way shows us how societies are grappling to maintain order when their foundations are shaken.
Okay, now for something that perfectly encapsulates the world's contradictory nature on this day, the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, a single event that became a stage for both chaos and incredible human achievement. The turmoil was just impossible to ignore. On the very first full day of the Games, you had suspected saboteurs damaging crucial rail lines, disrupting everything. At the same time, anti-Olympic protesters were clashing with police right in Milan. The Games were, quite literally, under siege.
And yet, amidst all that chaos, there was triumph. Canada was celebrating its first medal, a bronze in speed skating won by Valerie Malte. Japan's Kira Kimura soared through the air to grab a gold medal in the men's snowboard big air. It's just this incredible juxtaposition, isn't it? One moment, it's conflict in the streets. The next, it's pure, breathtaking athletic excellence.
For our final section, we're going to look at a story that might seem a little smaller in scale, but it points to a much, much deeper, more foundational issue, a crisis of trust.
This chart tells a really troubling story about public health in the U.S.
That top line you see there? That's the vaccination rate we need for what's called herd immunity. You know, the point where enough people are protected that the virus just can't spread easily, keeping everyone safe. But as you can see, the current rate for measles has fallen dangerously below that line.
And the reason for that gap, it really comes down to a breakdown of trust. So this isn't just about a virus, it's about a crisis of faith in our public health institutions. And the result is that a completely preventable disease is now making a scary comeback.
So let's just step back for a second and feel the planet's pulse on this one day. We saw nations pulling closer together and pushing further apart, often at the exact same time. We saw the brutal human cost of those conflicts, but also these moments of incredible triumph against a backdrop of chaos. And underneath it all, there's this creeping crisis of trust in the very systems designed to protect us. All of this in just 24 hours. So if this is our pulse, what does it say about our future?